All right, radio listeners, today we have a special guest in Miss Conservative US 2012, Lindz Sangalli. You can find her website at missconservativeus.org. And Lindsay Sangalli, we'd like to welcome you to the Conscience of Kansas radio program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's interesting, the whole process. Everybody's been enjoying your photographs. A beautiful woman that you are, and your story here is very compelling. I was wondering if you could tell our Kansas listeners a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the process by which you become Miss Conservative US.
Well, I'll start with the pageant. The pageant was created by a woman by the name of Jenny Merriman, who's been in the pageant industry and circuit, as they call it, for many years. And she found that pageants were not friendly to women with conservative opinions or generally any opinion that didn't fall right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And as a woman who had a lot of opinions, she found that a bit offensive. So she decided she was going to take her conservative values and create a pageant that was unlike any other. And so she did that last year, invited me to entertain the thought of entering the Texas pageant, and I did, and that was not a physical pageant. That was entering essays and questionnaires and photos, and I was lucky to be nominated Mrs. Texas Conservative. And then we had our national competition last July, and I won the national competition, and I have no pageant experience prior to this. This is really more of a political agenda, which your question to my background as a married woman to a husband who has several businesses and started from scratch, we're very concerned about the economic forecast and picture of our country. So we've been very involved on the national level and on a local level. And so it was a natural fit for me to jump in there.
Well, it's interesting, the whole process. And, I'm interested in your thoughts on how hard you believe it is for women out there in America that are conservative, believe in traditional values, that want to have an opinion, want to speak out, try to impact their local communities all the way up. How much do you feel they're demonized from liberal organizations out there, feminist groups, and so forth? Do you think they really go after conservative women?
They do. They're threatened with the misconception that by embracing conservative values that it automatically pertains to one thing, which is most of the time is freedom of choice. As if, and I don't mean to be crude with this, but as if all women think about is how they're going to obtain an abortion or their next birth control fix. Or most of us, especially women in my age, that we're long past that, and that's not on our radar. And many of us already have our families, even if we're younger and established. So they use the fear tactic that keeps women like myself a little bit in the closet on their conservative values, and then depending on where they live in the country. Now, I live in California half of the year, and that is, completely different than Texas. Couldn't be any more different.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I interview groups like Code Pink and others we debate out of California, and there's certainly a different mentality. When I see women that are in the forefront, whether it's people like Sarah Palin, Michelle Malkin, and others that take a stand, beautiful women, very beautiful physically,
brilliant.
But brilliant in mind. When I look at beauty, and I've written about this in books, when I talk about the need to have more women conservatives out there leading, whether it's in politics, leading in government, leading in voices, I talk about the beauty of the conservative woman, the conservative patriot, and that beauty, to me, and you can tell me if I'm talking crazy man talk here, but for me, that beauty, it comes first and foremost from within. What you believe in, how you stand up, courage. I think we're all drawn to people that have courage in today's world where, being politically incorrect in the slightest way will really have the hounds released on you. But when you have women that stand up and say, I believe in the Constitution, I believe in God, I believe in the family, I'm not weak, I'm not weak-minded or weak-spirited, and I'm going to stand up. I think as a man, I'm attracted to those people naturally. Is that crazy talk?
Oh, no, not at all. I often say one unfortunate accident and any external beauty could be extinguished. So to rely on external beauty as the source of what's beautiful about a woman or even a man would be not the smartest thing to do, or the most pleasing approach in the end, where you would be satisfied with your decisions. So strong women, and you know this because you get in the same arguments I do. You get in arguments with men, women. I know a lot of people in the entertainment industry in California who are also Jewish, and I am shocked at their position. From a more business-savvy position, I would think that they would be more open-minded to conservative principles for business. And then I'm also shocked at their position being Jewish, looking at what I consider I don't want to call him a leader, but the President of the United States, who I believe is, by the way he was raised, and his end game is communism and socialism.
You're right. You're absolutely
right. I would
right.
think that every Jewish person would look at the situation and think of the night of broken glass and run for the hills. But they are drawn to him, I guess, in the same way Jews were drawn a little bit to Hitler at some point in Germany, some of them, that didn't see the writing on the wall. So he scares me beyond words.
Well, and it's very scary now that we know we have another 4 years of him, and that there is nothing to bridle him back, hold him back. I think this last election might have been the only thing that might have curtailed him somewhat. He's just been a loose cannon. What I find, I agree with you. I look at a lot of the actions that liberals do out in the country, and I think it seems to work against even what they espouse for. And especially when I look at feminists, that when they come out and they try to destroy people like Sarah Palin. I think about Sarah Palin because the attack on her back in 2008 would have driven many a man to the fetal position. I mean, it was just brutal. Personal family attacks, personal attacks on her beauty, personal attacks on her intelligence. It was just brutal. I see that a lot on women. I think feminists, shouldn't they be champions? Shouldn't they be saying, look, I don't agree with their politics, but I want to see women aspire and attain these higher levels. Shattering the glass ceiling was a term that you read a lot about. If I have a PhD in sociology, so I came from places where you had the radical feminists talking about this need for women to aspire to these higher levels, and they just come out and chop down women that would get to these new positions, that would be good for women, would get them into higher positions where you could see their value, their worth, their ability. And I'm thinking, okay, I understand you're a liberal, but what are you doing here?
It is an interesting perspective to look at it and say, okay, you should be on my side. We should be together if you're so kumbaya, woman to woman. But that's never been the case. There's something inside of a liberal woman, nothing that I can fully understand, but there's something in them that is an anger. I don't know where it comes from. It may come from all different places in different women's lives, and they come together with it. But there's a big anger towards anyone thinking anything but their agenda, and their agenda is so fixated on, they want everything. And I'm sorry, this is where conservative values are different. As a woman, if you raise children and you're in employment, and I'm not popular for saying this, if you want to play the man's game, then you have to play the man's game all the way, which means if you have children, you've got to sacrifice the children's situation for your career, as men are expected to do. But women want it both ways. They want the equal pay, they want the same jobs, they want their job held for them for 3 months while they take leave, and then they want to decide when they can come back. I'm sorry, I don't think that's fair to men in the business world, that they have to tiptoe around the liberal agenda for women, that they want this equal pay. Life is not always fair. And I think we set ourselves up for a trap when we want all this, and then conservatives and men look at us and say, well, wait a minute, that's not fair. Why do you get all that and I don't get that? Or I'm expected to be always in my job and always doing it, and not taking a call from school that I have to go run home. If you want, I'm old-fashioned. If you want to raise children, I think the best thing to do is to be in their lives during those critical first, 5 years to 10 years, depending on the child. But to want it both ways, I just don't. Again, I don't think it's fair to men, and I think they set themselves up for failure. Liberal women want this whole. They're so concerned about being set back to the 50s. This is all you ever hear about. Well, they're going to take away my right to choose, and they're going to do this, and we have to take care of the big things first. We have to take care of the economy and get the tax situation in hand. The stuff they're talking about, that will take care of itself once we take care of the big things. Their focus, the Sander Flukes of this country, is completely off the mark. They're talking about the crumbs on the ground. We've got big issues to address first.
Right, and I think that all of those issues, I agree, that if you have a different mentality, a different ideology, and where you place your focus, where you put your heart, as far as in my position, it's following God and getting to Christian values, that you find that all of these issues fall into line because God has the plan. God understands economics as well as He understands social issues, and one seems to follow the other. When we see Barack Obama, where you have a socialistic communist guy, which by itself, the tenets of that from Karl Marx is atheism. So there's an absence of God. So when you take God out of the scenario, it doesn't really matter how you title the philosophy, then you're going to see things cycle down in all different directions. You're talking about the economy. We're in just a world of hurt on this economy, and I don't know how bad it'll be in 4 years, but I know it won't be better. And it comes from the idea that everything is handed down to you from government instead of God. Well, at the same time, you see all of these social issues going down. You see the president has been the most hardest on Christians of any president in here. Absolutely not an ally to Israel. Absolutely not. And so you see these things cycling. And so I believe that the ideology leads. And I'm looking for people that want to inspire the next generation of people. You have kids. I have 11-month-year-old, and having children really, solidifies a lot of things for me. My responsibility for the future and what kind of life they're going to grow up in. And I'm reaching out to the next generation of people. And so I know that to win that battle, we have to have everybody, not just men. We have to have men, not just women. We have to have kids, the youth that's coming up. It's going to take everything to change the direction of this country. And that's why I think it's so valuable that we get these women out there, because they inspire me. And I know they inspire others. And so that's what I think is so interesting about Miss Conservative U.S. is that coupling up of strength, beauty, determination, and values. What a wonderful thing.
Thank you. Well, I think being a conservative isn't always what it's portrayed to be, in the sense of where they look at it as you're, buttoned up to your chin and you're conservative in your appearance and your approach. Conservative values have to do with socioeconomic issues that cross a lot of boundaries and into different cultures. And so within the United States, many cultures, subcultures that are here and are becoming grown cultures, like the Hispanic, Latina culture, they live a conservative life, as do a lot of Christian blacks in America. They live conservative lives, but they don't vote that way because they don't understand the correlation. So there's people that I know, women and men, that go into those churches and those groups to tell them and explain to them that the way they live and the way they vote aren't matching. And once it's made more clear to them, they suddenly realize, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong side of the voting booth. I shouldn't be voting for the left and the liberal and the Democratic. I don't live that way. So I think in the next 4 years, women like Adriana Boyne, who's a very active women in the Latina community that explains this in tours around the country. We get more people like that out there speaking to people and have them stop watching pop culture television for their answers, for their decisions that they want to make. I think we might stand a chance, but my hopes are They're a little dim these days.
Well, it's hard.
Obama's leading us.
It's so hard right now. It's so hard right now, and most of the people I talk to, they're just like, I'm just kind of walking around in a depression because a lot of conservatives, half the country, put everything they got into trying to get a leadership change, and we're a little disillusioned right now. But I tell folks the battle for conservative values would not have changed if we'd had a leadership change. We'd still be holding that leader to account. We'd still have a lot of challenges that are the products of decades of really backsliding liberalism throughout culture. The battle would still be fought. And so in that case, and in that vein, things have not changed. The answers and what is right has not changed. It's just we lost a battle, and it hurts.
We didn't show up.
Yeah.
We have the numbers.
We do.
We didn't show up. Historically, we're voting at 56% of registered conservative voters. Had we received we're able to get 1 out of those 9 that didn't show up, that normally don't, to go vote, we would have won.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's almost sinful and a shame. That's an old term from my mother, I guess. Sinful, that's a sin.
Yeah.
It really was that we didn't bother to show up. People that showed up at rallies just still didn't go make it to vote. Mm-hmm. They liked the party, but they didn't want to actually go in the booth. So that's another angle, is you can't always convert people, and it's almost a waste of time, but we still have the numbers standing. We just need to get them there. If we don't get them there next time, I really don't know. I don't know what will come of it. Maybe we do have to go off the cliff and hit the wall.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to hit some walls before we even get to the next election. But the midterm is coming. There are many opportunities to do good things, and we have to keep articulating that message. I think to have smart, intelligent people to lead the way that can articulate not only, you can say all day what's wrong with Barack Obama and socialism and all that's going on, but at the same time, you have to say, this is what's good about conservative values. Let me explain these where you can understand them and show you a better way, not just what is bad, but what is good in the future. Ronald Reagan did that very well, and there are a lot of people out there. And, that's I think, something that you do and something that you continue to do. And we just really appreciate your time today, folks. We've been speaking to Miss Conservative U.S. 2012, Lindz Sangalli. She's a beautiful woman. I'll tell you, you're a beautiful woman, but you are beautiful not only on the outside, but your values and what comes from the heart is extremely beautiful. And we're all fighting this together. And do you have any parting thoughts before we sign off with you today?
I did want to say that moving towards, you brought up a good point, the midterm elections. I have the pleasure and the privilege of being friends with the Boehners. And John does a lot to raise money for campaigns within the country, congressional and Senate, that need help that may not be so obvious to people. So sometimes you say, I want to give money, I want to help get Republicans and conservatives elected, but I really don't know where to put the money. You can address it to him, and he makes sure he finds the areas where there's a great candidate, but he doesn't have the finances really to get him to that place. Mm-hmm. So if that's something anyone's thinking about, let yourself or contact me, and I'll put you in touch with the right person so that you can give a little bit to help get somebody in some state that needs a little help to get elected, so that we can hold the Senate, get the Senate,
right,
and hold Congress.
Tremendously important to avoid falling into that supermajority pit that we were in before. Now I have to ask you, when does the tiara change over? When is the next Miss Conservative U.S. come up? How long are you going to hold the throne?
I have it until July, and then there is another pageant that will be in Baton Rouge, and there'll be a new slew of women coming in to take over those positions. And I'm the Mrs., and then there's a Miss, and there's a few of the younger girls, and they go out into the schools and communities and do their thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad there's a title like that because like I say, I wrote a chapter in a book about the beauty of conservative women, but you're showing it for real in real life, and I encourage folks to go check out your website.
Yes, and I'm available to speak. I speak to young women on conservative values and making good what I call life-considerate choices.
Mm-hmm.
Not to take away people's choices in life so that they don't get overly freaked out when you say, oh, we're going to take away your right to choose. I say, you know what, don't even touch it. How about we just make better choices and make very thoughtful choices? And I think if given the right information, most of the women will make the right choice.
Well said. Well said. Miss Conservative U.S. 2012, Lindz Sangalli, thank you so much for sharing your time here with the folks on the Conscience of Kansas radio program.